title of this video is gonna be something like jobs, money, business, because I simply just had this like massive realization, and it's like pissed me off to the point where I had to make a video about it because I need other people to understand it, right? And so this is completely correlated to me, but I feel like it can definitely help someone out there, right? So, and I'm realizing how important it is where your perception of the world is aligned with the world itself, right? Your worldview versus your perception versus worldview, right? And so in terms of those three things, job, money, and business, right? They're all kind of interconnected. So for money, right? We all believe money is like super hard to be made, and it's like some people money as their master. They're like, oh, I need money this badly. Oh, $200,000 is a lot. This is a lot, or whatever. Like, right? It's because of our social programming, conditioning from society, or whatever you want to call it, right? And if you have a job, and like say you get paid 25 an hour, you will believe that you are worth 25 an hour. You'll believe that you need to work 40 hours to make $1,000 a week, right? You believe like all of these things are like self-reinforcing, right? You get this job, you go through all of school, right? And then you believe that the system is completely made for you to go to school, go to college, get a job, work the job for years, and then you finally make a decent income, and it's like not even a lot. Like if you really played this through, right? You go to high school, you try really hard to get into a good college, right? You finally get into a good college, maybe you even get into debt paying for college, right? And then you finally get out, and just like everyone else, or a majority at least, like 80-90%, you struggle to find a job because you're entry level, you have no real experience, right? Eventually you finally get in, something happens, right? You make like an entry level income, not great at all, right? To cover your loans, cover life expenses, whatever, right? In the 2-3 years, maybe you move up. Then like you're in the industry for 7 to 10 years before you finally make a decent income, or whatever the case may be, right? And let's say that decent income is 120, 130, 140K a year or whatever, right? After taxes, you only make like, if you take 120K, after taxes, you're not even making 100K. And with all of life's expenses, you're probably not gonna even keep a majority of that, right? So maybe you come home, like if you like had like a good year, you didn't spend too much, 50K, right? But you went through all of this struggle, 4 years of school, 4 years of high school, and then 4 years of college, and then if you went to your master's or whatever, loans, interest, having to spend time figuring out the job market, getting into the job market, working this job, like this is like over the course of like 15-20 years if you really think about it, right? And so when you're finally in that position, you believe money is like super hard to be made. Money, you have to work 40 hours, 60 hours to make X amount or whatever, right? And then you see people on the internet who are making $10,000, $20,000, $100,000 a month, and you're like, oh my God, they're making so much money. How is that possible? It's like, because they didn't take the traditional route that everybody's taking, the easy, efficient route, right? And it makes you believe that money is hard to be made than it actually is, when money is just simply a value exchange. If you gave someone enough value, then they would pay you a sum equivalent to how much value you provided, right? So the work that you do isn't that valuable, so your work or job or whatever pays you that much. And typically you are making the company money in some sort, especially if you're in a revenue generating position, and they're paying you like 4 or 5 times less than what you actually make. So if you get paid 25 an hour, because of your work, they're probably making, the company itself is making 150, 200 an hour, something like that, right? So again, it's just all of this social conditioning that makes you realize that like you perceive money to be valued much higher than the world values it at, right? And so you start acting in ways that don't ever give you clarity or directions to work and make a lot of it, right? So you'd be like, oh, I need to go to school for 4 years. Oh, I need to be in corporate for 7 years. Oh, I need to really struggle and find a job, and I need to do so and whatever, right? So you make money harder to get than it actually is, right? And the same thing with like the job, right? People value their job so much, and I was just in this situation because I want to quit my job very soon because of things like this, like just me understanding how much better it is to be in business, which I'm going to next. But it's like I set myself up financially pretty well, where even if I quit, I could not have an income for a year and I'll still be fine, right? So like I have investments, I have emergency fund, I have just layers of security, right? And even then, and then like the job isn't some job that I really want. It's not for a good company with like great benefits. I don't really care for my coworkers are cool or whatever, but it's like I don't care for them, where I'm like, oh, I need to stay here or whatever. And yet I'm like scared to quit in a way, because like it was like giving me anxiety. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna have no income. What will my parents think? What will my family think? Why? First of all, why does any of that excess stuff matter? If I can still take care of myself financially and I'm well, then why the fuck would an income matter? It's like, and then like the status you get from being employed is like, who the fuck cares that you're a slave to some company? Like the fact that I even like cared and like valued it, that fact that I was a slave to a company much higher than the world would, it just pissed me off. And that's again, it's like I can see why someone values money highly, right? Because of the system we go through. But then once you understand like how money actually made, you understand that it's really not that valuable. And it's just like a tool, not a master. Second, to value a job where you're literally a slave to a company, you're getting underpaid, you have a stable paycheck or whatever, you're never earning as much as you want. Like even someone who was making 100K isn't actually making 100K after taxes and life expenses, and like you're giving up your most valuable asset of time, which really is the most valuable asset. It's scarce, you can't get it back, right? Once a day passes, you'll never get that day back, and you're giving 40 hours of your life, a third of your life essentially, right? Because 8 hours at work, 8 hours sleeping, you only have 8 hours to yourself, and yet you give sleep you need, a job you don't fucking actually need if you find a different way to make money, right? And it's like, again, you get a job to make money, so if you find another way to make money, why the fuck would a job be important? It's just a useless middleman, right? Again, so like valuing a job where you're like a slave to a company highly, like I'm so mad that I even did that, right? So it's like now I'm like I was getting so much anxiety about quitting for like all the reasons I had listed, but now I'm like, fuck it, like let me just quit. Like I didn't want to be here anymore anyway, right? And lastly, business, right? I feel like this is what society typically, like these three things society values a lot higher than the actual worldview of it. And I'm a victim of this too. I valued money very highly. I valued being employed and having a job very highly. And I valued businessmen being very highly. But if you really, the more and more knowledge I gain about the subject and like actually seeing people who have success in these endeavors, and you have to also like, people who have success have a better worldview of the thing than someone who doesn't, right? The person who doesn't have the success in, like they're not rich, they're not in business, they don't have the physique, they don't have a good job, like whatever it may be, they don't have a good amount of money for them to understand how money actually works. You can't listen to them. You only can really listen to people who have achieved it, because at one point they were in this like sort of idea where they perceived it much higher than where the world perceived it as or valued it as. And so over time, their perception became aligned with the world perception or worldview of it. And that's when they finally were able to understand it. That's what they explain to you. And when they talk about it, like you'll see really rich people talk about how like $10,000 a month is not a lot. And they're like, you'll like become shocked, like, oh, this might not be a lot to you. But it's like, no, they finally understood how the world actually views money and how it should actually be valued, right? Because it's just a tool. But because of your social conditioning, you can't even believe it, because your programming and your conditioning is just so off due to like the system and life and everything, that you need to like over time really rewire your mental models in your brain or whatever, right? But lastly, business is essentially like every business person, like every business video you watch is like essentially the same thing, and they all say the same thing. People have a problem. If you have a solution to that problem, people will give you money for it. And that's literally all business is. If you think about any business, that's exactly what they do. Starbucks sells coffee because people want coffee, so they give them money for it. People want to be in shape, so gyms give them machines and equipment to lose weight and become fit. They get money for it. Personal trainers help people who feel they lack the knowledge and skills to lose weight on their own, so they give money to these like every single business works in this same sort of model. Problem, transformation, solution, right? If you really want to have your own business, all you would have to do is target a market that has a specific problem. You have the solution, and then you would have to give them the solution, right? That's a transformation from getting from point A to point B. And then if they're at the point of solution, then that's all business is, right? So it's like, if you can get people from point A to point B, you have a business, and that's all you fucking need. And you make more and more money over time by just scaling and doing more of it, right? So if you have one client paying you $50 an hour for getting from point A to point B, like losing 10 pounds, then you can just do that with 10 people and you make 500. You do it with 100 people, you make 5,000, right? It's like, the math sounds a little bit crazy, but it's all the same thing. It's like, it's so much more simpler than you would think. It's like, once you understand the core mechanics of these endeavors, you're like, wait, why did I complicate it so much? And then you'll be like, no, but business is like product and sales and marketing and all these things. It's like, Yeah, all those things are extra details, but they're not the bare principal mechanics. And that's all you need to get started. Like over time, yes, you'll learn about marketing and sales and how to like do client interaction and making it a referral based business, and how you can get higher churn, lower churn, have a lower CAC to LTV ratio, like whatever it may be, right? Like you'll learn all these little intricacies over time, but you don't need to know them in the beginning to start. It's like, that's the other thing. It's like smart people will do all this like research and try to get as much knowledge so they can have like the best perfect start. But you see all these like very successful business people typically dumb. Like you'll see like, people talk about it time and time again, like especially in this space. They're like, yeah, these business guys, they're like very successful, they're actually really dumb. And it's because smart, like this is my like theory, smart people, like this, imagine the worldview and how the world values it. Smart people will be right here, and then they keep overthinking and over researching, and they keep getting all this new information, right? And they make their perception of the thing that much harder, right? So like I did this, right? So I was like, business is so complicated. So then I started researching marketing and sales and product and how to do this and the habits that I need and this and that and this. So then I made it this big, right? This is my perception of how hard business was, when how hard it actually was over here. And now that I keep listening to the same information and they keep saying the exact same things, and they're like my mental models are actually being rewired, I'm gonna understand. I'm like, wait, why did I perceive it as this much? Why did I perceive it as harder than it actually is, right? It's because I valued it so much. The more you value something, just due to your perception and conditioning, you become farther and farther away from the worldview of it. And it makes it harder for you to even, like, say you want this thing, say you want to be in business, say you want to have more money. The more you value it, the higher the harder your perception is in obtaining it. And so then you act in ways which don't even like make sense. So like, if I value having lots of money or being in business is very hard, I'm gonna have to believe that I have to work very hard in order to achieve it. So I have to work 100-hour weeks or 12-hour shifts, or have all the intense knowledge, have all the capital, this and that, right? When it's literally just figure out a problem, sell the solution. It's literally that simple, and then you'll literally make money, right? But it's like, and that's what dumb people do, right? Dumb people aren't overthinking, overanalyzing, over-researching. They're just, oh, I know the solution, let me offer it to someone and they're gonna pay me for it, because that's how value exchange works, right? And it just pisses me off so much. It's like, if I talk too fast, it's because this just pissed me off. Understand these things, and in the end, we're all gonna fucking win.